Well, top of the morning to all these Bandit fans out here watching us and listening to us on the Banditland Boulevard show. I'm Trevor Howard, one of your co-hosts, and across from me via the Zoom platform, we got Tony LaMonica, aka Boxhead98TL, previewing one of the most important games of the season this year. The 6-6 Bandits face against the 11-2 Toronto Rock in Banditland. If in case you guys didn't tell, we're wearing the green jerseys tonight in honor of St. Patrick's Day, but huge game. Expect a great crowd. Tony, how you feeling this afternoon going into this game?
Well, it's going to be an very nervous but yet very exciting game to watch, especially against rivalries like this. Toronto Rock, last time we met them back in Toronto, we snuck a victory. So they're going to be coming out guns a-blazing and trying to keep up with the boys in the defense. Having Matt Vince back after last week helps. Having a Fogo guy also helps. So honestly, I'm not as nervous as I should be, but still, every game that's important to the Bandits right now, especially being 6-6, is a very important game, and it's a playoff game compared to a lot of regular season games.
It definitely is. But here's the deal. Before we get into anything, let's look at the injuries right now.
Sure.
So, if we look on the Toronto side of things, or Hamilton, whatever you want to refer to them as,
Mm-hmm.
we got Rogers and Jubinville that are officially out of the game. And
Right.
what the announcer on TSN calls him, Phil the Thrill Mazuka, is questionable to play. So I expect him to play tonight. The Bandits are going to be missing Matt Spanger,
Yep.
both of the Robinsons, Justin Martin, and Frankie Brown on defense. But there is good news to that. Corey Highfield has been elevated. And remember this guy, Adam Bomberry, added to the evaluation list. So he might be a game time decision going into tonight's game. If he plays, that's an upgrade, I believe, over Frank Brown. As we watched last week, Frank Brown was very, very flat-footed.
Mm-hmm.
He's been injured again. I don't know what the future looks like for a guy like Frank Brown. Personally,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably cut ties with him just because of his injury history. He can't ever consistently stay healthy. And Adam Bomberry is for sure an upgrade over Frank Brown. So that's big. No injury report on the Chase Fraser thing. I remember he took a ball to the back off a Dane Smith shot last week, and he was hobbled. He was getting pretty injured against the rush, but nothing on the injury front about Chase Fraser, so he's expected to play as well. Matt Vince is still doing okay with his finger injury, so he's going to play. You know what? They're pretty banged up. We're pretty banged up, but expected to still be a throwdown in Banditland nonetheless.
Yeah, key plays are going to be about who's going to step up and fill the shoes. Defensively, too, hearing about Adam Bomberry possibly coming back this week and would be huge due to the circumstances of like our injuries with Justin Martin and Frank Brown now. Yeah, it does stink that Frank Brown's hurt again. And yes, he did not look like himself this past week. But again, it's just one of those go-to guys that Buffalo really loves. And honestly, it's so hard to say goodbye sometimes. But again, letting go of Frank Brown might be a good idea for most. But for those some that do appreciate him being on this team, I mean, it just sucks to see him. It would suck to see him go. And the
Yeah.
fact is, with their offense, though, basically do your thing. Just keep playing as one. Use everybody on that roster that can score goals. Like Tahoka I think is gonna have a breakout game again. I'd like to see Chase if he's good to go health wise. If he goes on and off thinking, this is going to sting a little bit or whatever, I'd like to see him get a couple.
Yep.
And obviously Chris Kluche too, as well. Number 2 should be lighting up the lamp like he did last week, especially just having 3. But again, this offense could do damage regardless who's in there. So I have a good confidence that I think the Bandits pull off of W this week.
And not to mention the fact that the Bandits against the Rock in Banditland, a very,
Mm-hmm.
very good record. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the last time they lost to Toronto in Buffalo. It wasn't in the last 2 years, I don't believe. I think they lost to Toronto a couple times in their barn. I don't remember the last time they beat us here in Banditland, but both teams are pretty injured. We can look at key
Mm-hmm.
players to watch right now, starting with Toronto. I want to start off with a guy who had a pretty successful game against us back in January when we played them on the road, and that's Chris Bushi. I think that he was kind of kicking himself that the Rock came very close to tying that game late, and they couldn't tie it up and they couldn't get the job done. Expect a guy like Bushi to come out swinging, come out challenging Matt Vince every single time he's out there on the floor.
Yeah, Bushi is one of those guys that just been like a bandit killer to us as well. I mean, he'll pick corners, he'll find ways to score. And yes, they'll do probably the dunk moves a lot this game, I think, against Vince, especially with him being injured of his hand and watching for that broken finger. And they're going to test that limits too, especially going
Yep.
over his left shoulder too, as well as every person, or I'd say every team has kind of figured out Vince's weak spot. So we're going to have to really, it's going to have to really be a defensive shutdown mode for them today.
Who's one of your players to watch? I mean, look at this roster. You can just pick a name out of a hat and say, yeah, that sounds like a player that we can watch. I mean, this is an 11-2 team. Toronto's really taken the league by storm this year.
Yeah.
One of their 2 losses was against us, and since we played
Yes,
them,
it
they
was.
only lost 1 game. So they're a pretty tough team. Who's one of the key players from the Toronto Rock that you're watching right now?
I like to see Tom Schreiber. You got to be a shadow. That's the only way you're gonna. The only way I think you're gonna really stop him. And I'm not saying about other players, but Tom Schreiber, the Captain America of the team. Believe me when I say this, folks. If you don't keep him under 2 goals, it's going to be a disaster mode for the Bandits this night. But again, defensively, if we play that tough grit and keep them out of our zone and let Vince see the shots, I don't see us having a problem beating them. But again, there are other players on the Toronto Rock roster besides Schreiber who could still put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, look at number 42, Mark Matthews, that lefty sidearm.
Mm-hmm.
The Bandits pummeled them so hard in the playoffs last year that they went out of desperation move and traded for Mark Matthews out of Saskatchewan. And believe it or not, he still has it at his age, in his low 40s. He's still picking the corners. He scored a couple goals against us last time we played them in Hamilton. Look for a guy like Matthews, but I think we have the right-handed version of Mark Matthews on this team, and that's Chris Kluche. And we're going to jump right into Bandit players to watch. Chris Kluche is my number 1 guy to watch. He came off of 2 SportsCenter top 10 goals last week. Let's see what he's got in the tank this week. I think if he's carrying any momentum in there this week, that's huge because he knows he's facing against Toronto. He had very beautiful goals last week. 1 through the legs, 1 behind the back, which it seems like the Bandits do a lot against Toronto, by the way. There's always a behind the back or some sort of trick goal. So count on Chris Kluche to carry that momentum going into this game against Toronto.
Yeah, Chris is one of those guys that you need to rely on to get at least 2 or 3 more goals added to that, to the way the Bandits have been scoring. And like I've said, I think 14 is the magic number for every game you go into from here on in for the rest of the season. Should be a victory win, especially hitting 14 goals per game. Now, with the fact of having your guy go, I think another guy should be stepping up. And my go-to guy is going to have to be Tehoka Nanticoke, because again, with having that game-winning goal last week and really boosting his confidence, especially having 4 goals, I believe he had last game.
Yep.
So if he does it again, like he did last week, I don't see this team ever losing again, ever, because the way how they just all of a sudden got their Fogo guy, they got their confidence back up. Tehoka's played a lot stronger ever since coming back. He's going to be your breakout player, I think, is number 1 in the programs.
Yeah, we talked about momentum. He's going to carry that as well. I mentioned Chris Kluche. You mentioned Tehoka Nanticoke. Momentum is huge, especially when you're going up against a longtime rival like the Toronto Rock. Both those guys have the potential to carry that momentum into this game. Let's look at 48. We expect a big night out of him. Matt Vince is one of my key players I'm circling. 4 straight starts where he's given up at least 13 or more goals. Matt Vince, you're going up against Toronto. They're the best team, I believe, in the league right now. I think they're number 1 in the playoff standings at 11-2. If you want your confidence back, play a lights-out game against Toronto. And it's not just going to be you out there. You got the defense. The defense has to step up too. But Matt Vince, we saw some 5-hole goals that should have been saves last week. The over-the-shoulder stuff, that's been his weakness since the Rochester days when he started playing with the Nighthawks. But if you can limit Toronto to maybe 10, 11 goals, you're winning this game without a doubt. Because this offense, we talk about momentum all the time. When you scored 14 on Saskatchewan, including an overtime goal, that momentum is going to keep rolling into this week if you are a good team. I truthfully think the Bandits are a good team right now. They just need to continue with the momentum. They need to play their style. And I think the game last week, they started to play their style. And look at that. They won in overtime, shades of 2023, where they won the championship. So they're starting to come back to their old ways again. I don't think they're a bad team. I think that if Matt Vince limits them, because he's not going to shut them down. You're not going to shut down an 11-2 team unless they completely crumble and fall apart.
Right.
You limit them, you're winning. you're winning this game if you limit the Toronto Rock.
Yeah, because all you basically have to do is protect your goaltender, let him see the shots, and believe me, he will help you guys, with lights out, just locking it down, whatever you want to name it. He'll be himself. And Matt Vince will have his confidence like he did last week coming back from injury. He got his first victory after being back. And that's what you need to do is make sure that at all times, Vince is protected by our defense. And I'm sure with the new face now that we've gotten back on defense is Paul Dawson.
Yes.
I'm sure he'll be a big impact on tonight's game as well to make sure that Toronto has a lot to work for to either beat the Bandits this night.
And not just that, Tony, like I wanted to talk about Paul Dawson a little bit because what Toronto, their style of play, it's very similar to that of the Mammoth, where after the play, their players might take a quick slash at one of the players' hands. I love to see the Toronto players try that when the Bandits have Paul Dawson on the bench. I'd love to see them try that after the whistle stuff because they're going to F around and they're going to freaking find out when Paul Dawson's out there on the field. If you haven't seen the fight between Travis Irving and Paul Dawson, go on YouTube that. He still has the potential at his age to do that to any of the Toronto Rock players that want to take a cheap shot at any of the Bandits. I love to see them try this after the whistle stuff with Paul Dawson on the field and have them find out the hard way in front of 17,000 plus Bandit fans.
Yeah, it should be full tonight, especially at the KeyBank Center. So if you guys are not there early, I don't know what they're doing with the jerseys here today that I'm wearing personally. But if you want to get one, I'd say get downtown right now as we speak and get in line for that Sabre store. But getting back to what you said about Paul Dawson, yes, he is an aggressive, tough SOB on the defensive mark, because let me tell you, especially playing against him, he is just brutal on whoever he is covering like a shadow. And that is a key factor to have, especially losing Martin after last week and his injury. And just there's an upgrade right there to have Paul Dawson on your team too, having that veteran style, in your face defense. And believe me when I say this, folks, it's going to be we might see a fighter here or two. I got a feeling we will, because especially how we are in Banditland when we had we might see Mitch DeSnoop try to fight Dawson. I don't know, but either way, it's going to be fun to watch. If you don't have your tickets yet, go get them. Go get them right now. Seriously. It's going to be a fun game to watch.
It is. And especially when a 6-6 team going up against an 11-2 team, it's like, Toronto's probably going to win. No, Buffalo has had their number in Banditland for years. Doesn't matter what the record is or what their record is. It's not just, the Bandits are not going to roll over and just hand it to them. I can tell you that.
Nope.
And especially when you bolster up that defense with a guy like Paul Dawson, who used to play for Toronto, so he knows that team very, very well. Expected to be very close, like we've seen a lot of the games in the past 2 years. The games have been close.
Sure.
I don't remember. I think the last time we really blew out the Rock was game 2 of the playoffs last year. But if we're going back to the regular season, probably the game where it was the Tucker out game the year after they started letting fans in. So 2022, I don't expect it to be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination, but I can see the Bandits taking care of business in the end. So if we go to our keys to win, I mean, we say this every time we play the Toronto Rock, Tony. They're gonna bait you. They're gonna bait you to take penalties. They're gonna slash you after the whistle. If you're gonna fight, make sure it's coincidental penalties and still even strength. And you guys just go 2 minutes each for fighting or 5 minutes each for fighting. We don't want the 2-minute instigator. We don't want to give Toronto with their lethal weapons on offense and transition. Don't give them any power plays to work with, because they will cash in on every opportunity. Penalties, limit them, because we know you're not going to get 0. The refs are going to be dumb. You're going to take some dumb penalty. We've seen it this whole season. It's like virtually impossible to take 0 penalties. So limit your penalties. You should win this game. Yeah,
just try to maintain composure. Try to keep your calm, and especially with how they're going to try to get under your skin. And again, just beat them on the scoreboard. That's basically the best way of doing it. It's just beat them on the scoreboard with a great big smile on your face, and just, if they want to start with you, give them a smile. If they punch you in the face, you have every right to defend yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, try to not take dumb penalties. Try to stay out of the box as much as possible. And Trevor, like you said, you're right about it. It's not going to be no zeros across the board, especially against penalties against each other. You might see double-digit penalties. I got a feeling it's going to be like an 18-16 or 20-18, something close like that, because we're going to see fights. You're going to see scrapping. You're going to see pushing and shoving, especially against that team. But really, it's just try to maintain your limitations and stay out of the box as much as possible. And otherwise, I think another key to get under their skin is to attack Rose quickly. I think if you get to him like you guys did against the Rush, you really came out firing. That's huge, especially if you get him to get pulled, and that'll really make Rose overthink, and really his confidence boost would drop.
Yeah. I mean, what are his weaknesses? We've said on this show multiple times. At his feet. Anything at his feet. He's
At his
mostly
feet.
not saving. He's had a bad save percentage at shots towards his feet.
He will not move.
No, he won't move. He's a stone. He won't move. So if you shoot up high, he can easily make the shoulder save. We've been seeing Dane Smith over the weeks this season shoot at people's chest. We're like, no, he's not going to move. You got to shoot low. We know that Chase Fraser has a wicked sidearm that he could shoot high, he can shoot low, and he can bounce. So when you said one of your players to watch was 95, I agree. Chase Fraser, definitely. But you got Nanikoke, you got Kluche, you got Josh Byrne. Players that can perfect the bounce shot. And Nick Rose has not had tremendous success against this Bandits team. So I don't even know if we need to tell them even more. They know the weaknesses. Johnny T knows the weaknesses of Nick Rose. And if we shoot low, good things usually happen. And my third and final key is outman them. Play them physically. Show them that you're not going to come into this house and push us around. As far as forecheck goes, check a play. If they have the ball in your offensive zone, I want the forwards and the transition players to check them off the ball. Turn it over in their own zone and have the Bandits reset with a fresh 30 on the shot clock. If you're in the defensive zone, lay a damn body check in front of the net. The game would have gone to overtime last week if Robert Church was hit at the top of the slot. If they had a man on him the whole way, somebody would have clocked him. Priolo should have hit him, and the ball would have gone flying. The Bandits would have won 14-13 in regulation time. We need body checks. We need forechecks. Outman them, and don't let them push you around.
Yeah, basically, like you said, is that it would be great to be a little aggressive, especially with them about to take their shot. But again, the battles, the loose ball battles, winning the faceoffs to control the pace, that is huge for the Bandits tonight. Especially, I feel like every game is a must-win game for them now. It's the way how it's set up.
Yep.
You guys got yourself in this situation. This is the way it's got to be from now on. It's a must-win every game going to at the end of the regular season. So this game tonight is going to be an ultimate test. I said a test last week, but this is the ultimate. This is the final exam. You have really got to damper and get that A+, especially against Toronto tonight. So key plays, win every single battle of every part of the game. That's how you're going to win this game tonight.
That's right. And Tony, I said this last week. I think you also said it last week. If the Bandits win this game tonight against Toronto, we are officially back.
I would say so.
We are back if we win this game. 7-6, going away to Panther City and Philadelphia and Colorado, back-to-back road games. This game is huge. If you win this game and carry it into Panther City, that momentum will carry over. I guarantee when you beat a top team like that, Panther City might be looking at you guys next week going, oh, wow, this team that just lost to Vancouver beat the best team in the league at home, and we gotta play these guys at home in front of virtually zero fans, except for fans wearing orange and black colors.
Which some of them are coming from Buffalo to go down there. So.
Some of our loyal listeners and some of our loyal Bandit fans and Bandits Mafia are going to Dallas-Fort Worth next week, which is awesome. Can't say I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't a little bit jealous. I would have totally gone there and raised hell down there in Dickies Arena in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. But I don't know. I think if you win tonight, you're gonna put the league on notice. You'll be 7-6, and some opposite fans will be like, you know what, 7-6 is nothing to flex about. But when you look at the teams that you beat on your schedule, if we win tonight, we sweep Toronto. That is something that we shouldn't scoff at. We shouldn't shrug and brush off our shoulder. If you win tonight, the league will be put on notice and the Bandits will officially be back.
Yeah, I think the Bandits will have that. Okay, here's our championship mode. We're finally flipping the switch on, and we're going to be like, all right, now you guys have to really prove it to us who you're going to beat. So again, one game at a time. Every game's a playoff game from here on in. You win, that's huge. You lose, it's back down to where you feel like it's going to be all over again. But again, it's not quite over. So take this as a grain of salt. Go in there, play mad. and get in there and get in their faces. And believe me when I say this, is that every aspect of the game now, you have to be A+ perfect.
Yes.
There is no saying I need to make a mistake or, oh, my bad. No, there is no bad. You either play well or sit the hell down.
Yep.
Basically. So
Agreed.
That's all I got to say about that.
Your wiggle room of mistakes, your leeway is gone. Like,
it's gone.
Talk about a thin line. We thought that, like, you know, if you lose to Georgia in December, it's okay because we're in week 3. We're 1-2. Whatever. We beat San Diego. It doesn't matter. And then you blew an 8-2 lead to Halifax. That's a big mistake.
That was a big loss.
Losing to Vancouver, you've used up all of your wiggle room there. So we can't afford any mistakes here. Offensively, defensively, goaltending, transition, all sides of the ball, we can't afford to make any mistakes.
That's right. Guys, play your game. That's all you can do. And that's the way you're going to win the games, is if you play your style, don't play the opponent's style. You just control the pace, let it be known it is your game to run, not their game to run.
So with that said, Tony, I guess I'll start. Score prediction. I said with Matt Vince, if you limit Toronto and you let them score 10 or 11 goals, you're winning this game, and I will stick by that until the end of this game, until I'm proven right or wrong or otherwise. I say the Bandits win this game, Tony. 12-11, overtime.
Oh,
goal scored by Josh Byrne.
Wow. Well, I don't want to say overtime because last time my score prediction almost came true in the regular time or the regulation. So I was like, damn, if that would have worked. But I'm going to see what my senses tell me. I'm going to go
senses. St. Patty's Day senses.
I'm going to go Bandits will win. It's going to be Bandits 15, Toronto 13. Regulation time.
Statement win. Back-to-back weeks, Tony. 15-13 prediction from you.
I'm going to stick with it because that seems like it sounds right to me.
Yep, I can expect a high-scoring game. Close the whole way. I don't know if we're going to get 14 different lead changes like last week, which was crazy. I don't think we're going to expect that again. It's going to be a game of runs tonight. You're going to see a 2-goal run from Toronto, maybe a 3-goal run from Buffalo, and then it's going to be back to a 2-goal run from Toronto. It's going to be a lot different than what it was last week. It's going to be close. It's going to be physical. If you guys like fights, this is the game to go to because you're probably going to see at least one. I don't think the Paul Dawson trade right before the Toronto game was a happy coincidence or an accident by any stretch of the imagination. They know that we're beat up defensively, and we got a team that's going to take some shots at our top players. So we got to have a guy like Paul Dawson on the back burner to monitor and make sure everything's okay.
Sure. Guys, all I can say is have fun. Get your tickets now while you can. Let's fill the KeyBank Center and let's really be loud tonight because it's going to be fun. And for those of you also we like to take this opportunity, even though it is St. Patrick's Day weekend, please be, drink responsibly and be safe. We also want you to enjoy yourselves while you're having a good time. So please be careful. Okay.
Yep. While the Bandits are staying safe and winning, we want you to stay safe and winning as well. So have fun.
Yes.
Don't do anything stupid.
Don't do anything stupid.
That's all I got to say.
Let's hit them with a sponsor, huh, Trev?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, guys, we like to thank those at Mitchell's Tavern at 734 Sheridan Drive up in Tonawanda, New York for the best beef and wick on town. The Banditland Boulevard is mentioning to all of you to go give it a shot. Give it a try. Yes. They have an amazing service. The food and drink are excellent, so don't be afraid and to take a chance and go try it out. And also mention us from Banditland Boulevard. Tony LaMonica over there is Trevor the Power Hour. And also we'd like to thank those who watch us on YouTube. Yes, you can finally see our faces about Buffalo Bandits lacrosse. Banditland Boulevard, just like and subscribe, hit that notification bell every time you hear about lacrosse of the National Lacrosse League. And also for those listening in on every device known to man, your phone, your tablet, your TV, whatever, on your smart TVs or whatever you want to say, we want to say thank you to those from Spotify.fm and Anchor. I'll give us that 5-star rating and to let you guys all know about Buffalo Bandits lacrosse every year because we are not going away that easy.
Nope, neither are the Bandits as they are 6-6, 7:00 p.m. face-off. By the way, we do have a face-off guy. Forgot to mention.
We have a face-off guy.
This whole episode. So, you know what? Their face-off guy is going to be in this time. He was injured last time. We got Connor Farrell. So, it's going to be good. If you don't have your tickets yet,
be a fun
what are you
game
doing?
To watch.
St. Patrick's Day.
Entertaining.
very entertaining, and it's going to be very entertaining because if the Bandits win on 316, aka Stone Cold Steve Austin Day, you better
That'd be
believe
huge.
that the boys are going to be at Falls View Casino after slamming
Yep,
beers just like Steve Austin would be. So if they win today, hopefully on Steve Austin Day, aka St. Patrick's Day Eve, we win. And the fan base wins. We put the league on notice. It's going to be only uphill from here. But it is
that's right.
Toronto, so it's going to be tough. But I don't know. I got a good feeling. I know it's going to be close. And overtime is a huge possibility, but I like our odds in OT. So
Yeah.
just play your game, carry it into this week, take it one game at a time. This team has the potential to do something dangerous if they stick to their game plan.
Yeah, I agree. If you guys are going to do what you're going to do it now and don't hold back. Just play 100% 60-minute lacrosse. Can't lose. So also on a note too, guys, traffic wise, please take the highway downtown. It is a lot safer because of the old First Ward parades going on, especially from now until 3 o'clock. So if you guys are heading down there early, figuring to tailgate a little bit, please be careful and also take that route because it is all blocked off.
Yeah, and
so
then make that turn
take the
on
mainline highway.
Make the turn
Downtown.
on Georgia Street if you're parking underneath the Skyway to the
Yes,
arena. I think
that
you want to
too
go
as
down
well.
that way. I don't think there's anything going on there as far as I'm concerned. But
Not
if you're
that way, I
also
don't think.
if you're also scoreboard watching for the Sabres push to the wild card, they are down 2-1 going into the third period. Buffalo boy, good old Irish boy, who I think the Sabres should have signed in the regular season. Patrick Kane scored the go-ahead goal for Detroit. Death taxes and Patrick Kane scoring against the Buffalo Sabres, those are the three most certain things in life. So Sabres, if they win today, they could be 1 point out of the wild card with a couple games in hand. So
That would be
might
cool.
be looking up, but the Sabres are currently riding a 3-game win streak. I hope they win, but I think the odds of the Bandits making the playoffs are greater than the Sabres' odds have ever been this whole season. So and they're right on pace to finish a point out of the playoffs again. So I mean, are you looking at playoffs? Maybe, maybe not. Not sure. I don't know. This is a Bandit show, but I did have to flex the signed JP Dumont.
JP Dumont one, nice
in the background, which at the BFLO store, such a good guy. Signed my jersey, so that's pretty cool. I got Bandits 12-11 OT. You got Bandits 15-13 regulation time. Back and forth game. Guys, get your tickets if you don't have it already. And I think, Tony, we got to hit him with 3 more words when we end this show.
Always. And those 3 words are let's go Bandits.
Let's go.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Happy St. Patty's Day. Top of the morning.